This is the test security training module for Oregon's statewide assessment system, required for all district and school test coordinators, as well as all test administrators. The topics that this module will cover include the requirements for a secure testing environment, handling and disposal of hard copies of secure test materials, identifying and preventing testing improprieties and irregularities, as well as reporting any potential improprieties or irregularities. The first topic is secure testing environment requirements, which is important for multiple reasons. First, we must ensure the results of the assessment are valid for accountability purposes by having consistency in administration practices across schools and districts. Second, maintaining the security of test items, questions, and stimuli, such as reading passages, is necessary so that these items and stimuli can be used in future years to maintain measure comparability and use the results to identify trends in performance. Ultimately, the goal of maintaining a secure testing environment ensures that no students have an unfair advantage or disadvantage during testing. Section 2.2 of the TAM addresses the requirements for maintaining security of the test environment. Test security generally involves who has access to secure test materials, what students can see and hear while testing, and what resources students can access while testing. To ensure a secure test environment, there are requirements that must be met in preparation for testing, during testing, and once testing has been completed. Table 10, included in Section 2.2 of the TAM, provides a list of requirements that must be met during these three phases to maintain the security of test materials and the security and validity of student responses from start to finish, and is an excellent resource to consult at each phase. Please note that a secure testing environment refers to the conditions under which the tests are administered and do not imply or require a specific location. Within the same school, a secure testing environment could be created in multiple locations, such as a classroom, library, small conference room, or multi-purpose room. A secure testing environment is expected for all tests, every testing session. Testing improprieties can be eliminated with sufficient training and understanding. Each year, ODE receives reports of materials having been left up on the walls in classrooms that may have provided students in those rooms with an unfair advantage. This oftentimes affects multiple classrooms of students. Please cover or remove wall decorations during testing, as it is heartbreaking for all of us when test results for entire classrooms of students must be invalidated. The other considerations listed here are also avoidable with appropriate practice and training. Please make sure that you understand what TAs and students are allowed to do or not allowed to do during testing. Consult the TAM for additional information. Section 2.4 of the TAM specifically addresses the requirements in place around handling secure printed test materials, including printed items and stimuli, student notes and rough drafts, and scratch paper. It is critical that each school have protocols in place and ensure that they are followed to ensure only the student and authorized staff who have signed an assurance of test security form have access to these secure materials. This is referred to as maintaining a secure chain of custody of printed secure materials, from printing or writing, in the case of scratch paper, to secure disposal. This protocol should include both test administrators and non-TAs who may be assisting with the storage and/or destruction of secure materials. ODE has posted a promising practice around maintaining the security of printed test materials to the link at the bottom of the slide. It is also important that all individuals who will be handling secure test materials, including students, understand what must be securely destroyed immediately following the end of each test session, and what may be securely retained between sessions until the student completes the test. Please refer to Section 2.4 of the TAM for a complete description of these criteria. An impropriety is any behavior that is prohibited because it gives students an unfair advantage or compromises the security or validity of the test. This includes behaviors committed by either adults or students, whether intentionally or by accident. Sections 3.1 and 3.2 of the TAM provide tables that identify examples of common adult and student-initiated test improprieties. However, it is important to note that these tables are not exhaustive. Preventing adult versus student-initiated improprieties may call for different strategies, but the following rules of thumb can go a long way to preventing many improprieties. It's also important to note that historically, more improprieties are adult-initiated, underscoring the importance of having preventative protocols and procedures in place. Ensure all adults and students are aware of the testing environment rules and expectations before testing begins. This can help to prevent many accidental improprieties by both adults and students. Check the test environment to make sure it's secure before, during, and after testing. This includes checking ahead of time to ensure there are no non-allowable resources posted or available for students, that there is sufficient spacing and visual barriers between student testing stations, and that the environment is quiet and void of distractions, e.g. no through traffic, restricted access to authorized individuals only. Finally, TAs need to closely supervise the test environment while testing is in progress to make sure that the environment remains secure and that students are following the rules. Always check the TAM and seek clarification before testing begins if there is any doubt about whether a particular resource or behavior is permissible, either for students or adults. As mentioned on prior slides, our impropriety data consistently shows that about 2/3 of improprieties are adult-initiated. This presents us with important training opportunities that we need to make sure are well understood by school test coordinators and test administrators. ODE receives about 1,500 testing impropriety reports per year, which often include multiple improprieties. The number of tests impacted by impropriety reports last year was 3,709, which is a substantial decrease from the prior year. ODE tracks the type of impropriety reported in an effort to understand the critical areas of concern that can be emphasized during training. The 2018-19 school year data show that most improprieties were in the area of mishandling secure materials, accidental submissions, technology issues, and testing outside of the test window. Each of these areas had over 300 cases statewide. While all improprieties are concerning, we continue to receive reports of non-allowable resources being provided as well. In sum, the 4 non-allowable resources displayed here accounted for 414 improprieties. Please work with your staff to decrease these inappropriate practices. ODE, for our part, continues to work on decreasing those that result from technology challenges. How does ODE typically respond after receiving impropriety reports? In most cases, ODE determines that the event did not impact the construct being measured, resulting in a no impact determination. Less than 0.5% of the tests administered in Oregon need to be invalidated because of the impropriety identified. ODE is often able to reset or reopen students' assessments, as conveyed in this graph. The tables in sections 3.1 and 3.2 of the TAM provide multiple, though not exhaustive, examples of both adult and student-initiated test improprieties. These examples should be reviewed with all test administrators as practices to avoid. Please emphasize the importance of covering up materials that are posted on the walls, whether in classrooms, computer labs, libraries, or other testing locations. If there is any doubt, please cover it up. When a potential test impropriety or irregularity occurs, it is essential that the first course of action is to pause all impacted tests until the incident is reported, investigated, and resolved. Any potential test impropriety or irregularity must be reported up the chain of communication so that the incident may be investigated in a timely manner and the appropriate outcome identified as quickly as possible. Typically, TAs or other staff who may observe what they believe to be a test impropriety or irregularity report the incident to their school test coordinator. STCs then report to the DTC, who makes the formal initial report of a potential test impropriety or irregularity to ODE test security. The DTC is responsible for coordinating with ODE and conducting any necessary investigation. Immediately pausing tests impacted by a potential test impropriety or irregularity and not resuming testing before the DTC's full investigation and confirmation from ODE regarding the outcome mitigates impact on students. In some cases, allowing a student to continue testing before resolving the issue can significantly limit the options available to that student. Resuming testing before resolution can make the difference between whether the tests impacted can be reset and remain valid or must be invalidated and that testing opportunity lost to the student or students. If there is any doubt about whether an incident or behavior is permissible, either for students or adults, always check the TAM and or seek clarification. DTCs must submit an initial report for all potential test improprieties to ODE within 1 day of learning of the potential test impropriety. Similarly, DTCs must report all test irregularities that impact either test security or test validity. Based on the initial report, ODE may request further investigation by the DTC, in which case the DTC must provide results to ODE within 30 calendar days. These expectations are unchanged from previous years. DTCs submit their initial report electronically using an online form available at the link shown at the bottom of the slide. A step-by-step guide and how-to video are also available at this link to assist DTCs with using the online form and submission process. When an impropriety occurs, ODE will work with the DTC to confirm the appropriate outcome. All possible outcomes are summarized in Table 14 of Section 3.5 of the TAM, shown here on this slide. Although ODE works to mitigate impact on students, due to the severity of the incident, the impacted tests must be invalidated. Under certain conditions, as described in Table 14, it is possible that a test may be eligible to be reset, reopened, or even that there is no impact. As mentioned earlier, allowing a student or students to continue testing before the appropriate outcome is determined may negatively impact the options available, even eliminating the possibility of resetting or reopening a test. Finally, on this slide, additional resources available to assist you in your role throughout the year are listed. This concludes the Test Security module.